News Now is brought to you by the Bank of Guam, the People's Bank, Docomo Pacific, island-wide, worldwide, the choice is clear. And Micronesia Renewable Energy. Go solar for zero money down. From the Pacific News Center in Hagåtña, Guam, here's Clint Ridgell and Janella Carrera with Betsy Brown and Roselle Romanes. PNC Sports with Blake Watson and weather with Rebecca Kim. With your news now.
And good evening, Guam. It is Thursday, December the 11th, and you're watching PNC's News Now. I'm Janella Carrera.
And I'm Clint Ridgell. Thanks for tuning in. Topping your news tonight, an arrest has been made in the hit-and-run accident that took the life of a young woman on the back road to Anderson back in August. PNC's Betsy Brown reports.
It took more than 3 months, but police today made an arrest in relation to the hit-and-run accident on Route 15 that took the life of 24-year-old Nana Leon Misaichi on August 24th.
At around 8:45 today, officers from the Highway Patrol Division arrested James Sablon Cruz for the following offense: vehicular homicide, reckless driving with injuries, leaving the scene with injuries, that's leaving the scene of a crash with injuries, and DUI with injuries.
Family members say Misaichi had just purchased a calling card so that she could call her father and was on her way across the street to return home when she was struck by the pickup truck.
The crash was reported around 8 p.m. that night, and a few hours later, the suspect, Mr. Cruz, had turned himself into the Gagner precinct, where he willfully admitted to consuming 5 cans of beer prior to him departing a resident off of Laddie Heights.
Guam Police spokesman Officer Paul Tapau told PNC that even with Cruz's confession, GPD waited to make the arrest until more evidence was gathered under the guidance of the Attorney General's office.
We still needed to put the reconstruction together. You got to understand the severity of the crash. It is a fatality. And in doing fatalities, our reconstruction is up at Highway Patrol Division. They have to reenact what had happened by piecing the evidence, such as the vehicle, which is also the evidence, and also doing crash scene measurements at the scene.
That's the type of investigative work that Officer Tapau says is currently ongoing in another hit-and-run case, which took the lives of 3 teenagers on Chalon Ramirez 2 weeks ago.
We do have a person of interest. However, due to the lengthy investigation of more interviews and, of course, our reconstructions that needs to be done at the crash scene, we're still waiting on that to develop.
19-year-old Cherica Gallon, 16-year-old Sally Santos, and 16-year-old Julia George all died from injuries relating to the November 29th hit-and-run. No arrests have been made in that case so far. Betsy Brown, PNC News.
Meanwhile, 6 Teason High School students have been taken into custody on charges relating to rioting after videos of a school fight went viral. 4 female minors and 1 male minor were taken to the Department of Youth Affairs. 19-year-old Rudy Daniel Uggan was also arrested and is being charged as an adult. Uggan faces charges of rioting, jurisdiction over an adult, guilt established by complicity, entry with the intent to cause a fight. The male minor is charged with aggravated assault, rioting, assault and disorderly conduct. The female minors are all charged with assault, rioting, disorderly conduct, and beyond control. The minors are all confined at DYA while Uggan was booked and released. Officer Tapau says the arrests are a message to the community that GPD takes crimes of violence seriously.
No, we're not going to turn a cheek anymore. The community is coming forward with the help of the community and the support of the community. You know, we can turn this around and we can make, we can actually all work together in putting a stop to this.
Officer Tapau says the arrests were a collective effort between the Juvenile Investigative Section, the Department of Education, and the Attorney General's office.
In a show against violence on campus, students from all 6 Department of Education high schools held a peace wave this afternoon. The The Southern High Dolphins waved at Chief Kapua Loop and were joined by students from Agata Johnson Middle School, George Washington High School, JFK, Ukuru Tidzin, and Simon Sanchez High Schools held waves in other parts of the island as well. Superintendent John Fernandez says he's proud of the students who participated today, and he says they represent the 98% of the island students who do not engage in senseless violence.
Governor Eddie Calvo says he plans to call out Senator Mike San Nicolas if he continues to push a bill that would prevent pay raises for elected officials and cabinet members. He also responded to a petition circulating calling for a repeal of those same raises, saying if the people want to repeal elected officials' raises, then it should apply to the entire government of Guam.
I'm happy to see that Mike San Nicolas' bill was defeated. I feel Mike, unfortunately, was playing politics.
There has been some public dissent on the salary increases elected and appointed officials stand to receive. There is a petition circulating calling for the repeal of the increases, and at least one senator attempted the same. But the Calvo administration says these salary increases are well-deserved and needed. The last time government-wide salaries were implemented was in the early 1990s.
And it caused for such a tremendous disparity, and particularly the management positions between our line agencies and autonomous agencies. And I made a commitment from day one that we were going to rectify it.
Under the Hay Pay Plan, senators stand to receive between $20,000 to $24,000 each, the lieutenant governor $25,000, and the governor $40,000 in raises.
Anyone may have a problem with Governor Calvo or Senator San Nicolas. They may not like him because Republican or Democrat, or they don't believe that elected official deserves that pay. But I'm not going to even look at myself. I do believe my directors have done a great job, and I do believe that they deserve this pay raise.
Governor Calvo points out that many cabinet members make significantly less than their autonomous agency counterparts, but still have the same, if not more, workload.
So if people have a problem with the governor's pay, then that means they have a problem with every appointed official under the governor. And that's just how it works. You don't see in other communities where subordinates get higher pay than their executive. And unfortunately or unfortunately, I'm the executive and I'm getting paid a certain pay scale.
Governor Calvo also has a cautionary message for Senator San Nicolas.
I'm hopeful that Senator San Nicolas will stop this mischief, but I do hear that it will occur. He will reintroduce a bill in January in the next term, and I'm gonna call him out on it. So if he doesn't like his pay increase, I may not care for his performance as a senator, but if the Hay Group said that that's what the pay is for a senator, then so be it. But he's being very unscientific and very political about this.
Asked whether he intends to donate his salary increase,
I think, my wife has a love for a lot of our foster kids, so some of my pay increase will go towards Ali Shelter, Catholic Social Services, Camelin Caridad for the homeless. Some of that will go for donations, and some of them will go to dealing with some of the expenses that I have as a father who has 3 kids in college.
the salary increases are also retroactive to January of this year.
Visa extensions for the Guam and the NMI have just had a huge change of fortune in a fast-moving set of events in Congress. PNC's Washington correspondent Matt Kay reports.
House leaders of both parties, in search of a legislative vehicle that could be used to fund the government for the rest of the fiscal year, turned to a bill that had already passed both chambers once in different forms and would therefore face fewer procedural hurdles if put back through the Senate with a huge government funding measure attached. They picked a territory's energy bill and used the Senate version that includes NMI Congressman Greg Khalili Sablan's extensions past December 31st through 2019 of an NMI Guam H visa cap exemption, NMI investor visas affecting 261 investors, and a ban on NMI asylum seekers. Suddenly, a bill most lawmakers never heard of became a $1.1 trillion package to keep the government open for the rest of the fiscal year, something unheard of in the history of territorial legislation. Sablan says House Democratic leaders came to him after working with GOP leadership to find a way forward on spending.
I was consulted and I agreed to it. And yeah, and I agree to it because it does, you know, it looks like we're going to be able to continue three important immigration policies.
Including continued exemption from the H-visa caps, key for finding skilled foreign labor needed on local construction projects.
Big construction projects like Best Sunshine can bring in temporary workers, and obviously the military contractors for the military on Guam, military projects on Guam can also bring in workers.
And the ban on asylum seekers will save the government some $16 million in claims over the next 10 years, according to a new Congressional Budget Office report. Sablon says such losses would force USCIS to reduce grants of parole for Russian and Chinese visitors, key for local tourism. Also included in the bigger funding bill, a continued five-fold boost in water and sewer funding for the islands and inclusion of the territories in the National Tourism Promotion Program. But Sablon says things can still go wrong with the combined territories government funding bill. Conservatives don't like that it fails to hold the president accountable for his unilateral moves to protect illegal immigrants, while some Democrats don't like a fix for earlier banking reforms. Sablon says he's introduced a backup visa extension bill, while Hawaii's Brian Schatz has filed a companion bill in the Senate. On Capitol Hill, Matt Kay for PNC News.
What was once a small immigration bill for our part of the world is now a giant budget bill for the entire nation. But what did Congressman Greg Khalili Sablon have in mind in the first place? According to Sablon, it's all about immigration. It would extend the H-1 and H-2 visa cap waiver for 5 more years, deal with asylum issues, and help people invest in the NMI. Immigration lawyer Juan Carlos Benitez tells PNC these provisions are big because they get us more skilled laborers for the military buildup and make sure that Chinese still get their visa waiver to Saipan.
We should commend Congressman Khalili for his tenacity and continue to push on this immigration issue and bring it to the attention of both the House and Senate leadership. It was in the Senate that this amendment on immigration reform was included in the bill. So we're very pleased that this matter will probably be addressed hopefully tomorrow.
The omnibus bill, as it's called, should be voted on in Washington tomorrow.
All right, we'll keep watching PNC. We'll be back with more news now after this.